Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I want to do an interesting discussion about Duelist packs. We just got we didn't get it, but the OCG just got the light Duelist pack. We don't have that announced or anything, but that's not really the whole point of this discussion. We'll get those either imported somewhere else, or it'll get announced that we're getting it in the TCG. What I'm wondering now is, like, what is the future of Duelist packs? Because we're kind of done. If you haven't been paying attention, so like the whole like basic history of like at least the modern day Duelist packs, not the old ones that only were like one character per one and it was like bad support cards. I'm talking about the more recent ones, which started, when did this one start? This one started in 2017. So we've gotten 12 of these since 2017, which is, what is that? That's 8 years, so 1.5 every year on average, which is fine. But with these, we've gone through our cycle. If you look through the original ones, you have the original Duelist pack, you have Duelist pack 2 with some of the villains in it, you have Duelist pack 3 where a bunch of the like second string main characters kind of were in it, you have Duelist pack 4 with all the ladies in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, then you have Duelist pack 5 with the villains again, but like really villain focused, and then you have Duelist pack 6 with Hero, with all like the main characters of every generation. Then from there we went to the next cycle, because they said they did all the characters they want, and they said let's start anew and let's start a new theme. The next theme was just attributes, right? They went one by one. There's 6 main attributes. They started with dark, then they went to wind, then water, then earth, or earth is fine. Pokemon brain. Fire, and then you get to light, right? They've gone through the 6 main attributes, and we have no announcement on if or what the next Duelist pack will even be. Now, there's a couple things to note here that I think like possible paths they could go down. The first thing is, maybe Konami says, you know what, Duelist packs are done. We have gone full circle on it. If we don't want to start redoing archetypes and doing them, giving them another Duelist pack, we can kind of just move on from this product and pick some other type of side product to move forward with that's not character-based. They could totally do that, right? If they don't want to start recycling some of the same archetypes over and over again, they can definitely look at this set and say, yeah, it's probably time to go. We're too thin on characters we can choose from. Secondly, do they just say, screw it? You know what I mean? This is a free outlet for us to get Dark Magician support, Hero support, all these characters that we want to make sure have updated support because they're the most popular characters that play usually the most popular decks in the game currently, especially if they're good. Let's keep them up to date and let's just recycle it around. Let's get Cyber Dragons back in here. Let's get, some of the most popular archetypes back in and just redo them. Screw it. You know what I mean? And then the question would be, if they choose to try and do that, which they don't have to. There are a handful of characters still available, but when you really go through it, you're like, if they don't want to redo archetypes, they've got like 3 Duelist packs max that they can do at this point, if they don't want to recycle anything else. But if they do decide to keep it and do decide to go with some certain themes, you have to wonder, what do they want to do? I mean, these ones had, like, some of these were tighter, but like early on they were really loose. Like Duelist pack 1, 2, and 3 were like kind of loose on what they were going with. They really decided to get into theme with 4, 5, and 6 because they went all ladies, right? All villains and all main characters, right? In here was kind of like, mostly just like those second guys in every generation. This one was really random. I mean, like it looks mostly like bad dudes, like Bandit Keith, Pegasus, Weevil, Crowler, and then you just get to like Jesse Anderson at the end. You're just like, what? And then this one's all over the place as well. So it's hard to say. Like, they didn't, and then they got into their stride. They got into the attributes. And they said, that's cool. That gives us something to like focus on, and it really tightens our lens on what we're picking from, and can go from there. Not to mention they trimmed down how many characters. When they started in the first, I think, 2 Duelist packs, they had 6 different characters in each one. They very quickly learned they need to cut that down, so they cut it down to 5. Not as small as it probably should have been, but it was better. And then they got to the New Age ones where they do, instead of like 4 cards of support with 6 Duelists, 5 cards of support for 5 Duelists. They got to the Modern Age one where they said 3 Duelists, 7 cards each. That way they could really expand on the support a lot more for each character. As far as themes go, it's hard to say. I think they could potentially mess around with the idea of going like generation by generation. You know what I mean? The next Duelist pack would be DM. Then the one after that would be GX, 5Ds, Zexal, Arc V, Vrains. They get all the way through it. They can absolutely do that. And I don't mind that because it seems like Konami has been really staying away from stuff like Vrains recently. But this gives them a long runway where they don't even have to like mention Vrains, go after Vrains until, you know what I mean, 4 years down the line or whatever, by the time they actually get to that 6th Duelist pack. They could do that. They would probably have to start recycling archetypes, is the thing though. But I think that could be an easy route where like they've already been going in groups of 6. That is like an automatic 6. You can just start again. So, you know what I mean? That just makes a lot of sense to me. And then for the other piece here, I have a couple characters that I thought were like the most interesting. I didn't even set them aside here, so apologies on that. But like, if you know Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll know these characters. I have like 8 characters that I thought are interesting that have not been utilized in this way yet. That I thought like, okay, these are characters that I could see in a Duelist pack like this. The first one is Yugi, and it's not Dark Magician because it's already been in there. But I think Magnet Warriors could potentially get down there. You guys are going to tell me I'm cope. You guys know how much I cope on Magnet Warriors. I can't stop. But other than Dark Magician, there's very few like full like mini themes that Yugi uses. It's sometimes like 1 or 2 cards. Magnet Warriors were the first one where it was like it's like 4 different cards that all synergize together, and you see pretty regularly throughout, you know, the show after the first season. So I think that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's a way for them to jettison Yugi onto the cover of one of these sets and help sell it, right? By just plugging Yugi in, even if it's not Dark Magician. Some people will still be brought in by Yugi, and people are still nostalgic for Magnet Warriors, I believe. So I think that could work. The next one would be Pegasus, which I guess brings us back to number 2. He's been in here before, but he was only in here for Relinquished the first time around. They could absolutely just throw Toons into a Duels pack. I'm actually kind of surprised they went Relinquished over Toons the first time around, and that's another one where a lot of people have nostalgia for Toons. A lot of people are big Toon people. You could start printing some of the new, like, more modern cards in Toon form if they wanted, right? Some of, like, the newer protagonist cards, like, in Toon form would be, like, really, really cool. They don't even have to restrict themselves to just, just DM era cards. That could be really, really cool. Next up is Declan Akaba. He's not on here anywhere, really, because he's never been represented. But DDD, he's a pretty relevant character in their show. I've not seen it, but I've had people tell me Declan's pretty relevant. A lot of people like DDD. That may be an easy way to just fill it with an archetype that people have been waiting for support for it for a while. So that could work. Another one would be Luna. We've talked about this before on the channel. Ancient Fairy Dragon is a Signer Dragon, and it doesn't even have its own archetype, but Luna does have a couple of her own cards that she's the only one to use. So I do think they could do kind of what we saw with Shining Sarcophagus a couple core sets ago, which is just like put Ancient Fairy Dragon in the text of a bunch of new, like 7 new cards, and then make it, that's the synergy. They all like search each other, like search a card with Ancient Fairy Dragon in the text, yada yada, make it an archetype that like uses a field spell or 2 or 3, and maybe that's how like you utilize your own Ancient Fairy Dragon with an archetype with multiple field spells to just rotate your own. It actually does it in a meaningful way, and they could do some really cool retrains there to tie that archetype together, because it feels wrong that Ancient Fairy Dragon just has existed as just a good generic card in history, but has never even had a theme to itself, right? That would be really, really cool. The next one is Aster Phoenix. We've seen already in Duels packs Konami do just kind of separate the different forms of heroes. I believe Jaden was in this one, yeah. Legendary Duelist 6. But Jaden gets Elemental Hero support in Duels Pack 6. We also see... Where's the other one? There's Evil Heroes somewhere. Yeah, and literally in the pack before, Evil Heroes are in here. So they definitely seem like they can separate different types of heroes, which means Destiny Heroes would still be available for Duelist packs. They could still catch Aster Phoenix in there. Potentially even Vision Heroes, if they wanted, could also end up in here. And even Masked Heroes. Maybe even Masked Heroes could end up in here, right? There's definitely room for that. Moving on to a little later in generations, the only one I really saw from Vrains that wasn't like printing a brand new archetype is Go and his Goki archetype. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think especially with Isolde getting banned, I don't think we're going to see Isolde come off the ban list until it gets errataed and made much weaker. So I do think Goki sits in a spot where, like, even with Isolde, it did like some scary things, and you were like, I'm scared. Every single one of these guys floats when they go to grave. They rotate resources like crazy. They can really spam the board. But now it's like they can't facilitate any of it. So give them their own Link 2, maybe even a Link 1 if it's like a vanilla type Link 1, just to help them get plays started. You don't have to do that, though. You can do it in other ways, too. You know what I mean? Give them some other win conditions. I think that one makes sense overall. I hate this one, but Sartorius, during the last Duels Pack announcement, I had a lot of people saying Sartorius would probably be in there. I really hoped he wasn't. He wasn't, which was really lucky because the other three archetypes were way better. Sorry, listen, if you're any sort of a competitive player, you would not want Arcana Force to get support in a Duels Pack. You'd rather be something that actually has a chance to be like Rogue or better, which is what they did. Yeah, we'll get Arcana Force support at some point. You know what I mean? I just don't want it to take up a slot like this because I think it almost kills the slot. I don't think he's an important enough character where like nostalgia fans will be like that brought in, at least like on a level they would need to sell the set. I think it might kill a third of the set, to be honest. And the last one I thought is Rex Raptor. I only kind of got to this one when I saw the Duels Pack, the second Duels Pack, because Weevil's in it. So, like, Weevil and Rex Raptor are always lumped together. They actually end up hanging out together at different seasons because they, like, go after, you know, Yugi and his friends, like, together at points. And with that, it's weird that, like, Weevil's been in here, but Rex hasn't. Now, I know Weevil has, like, somewhat more put-together archetype, whereas Rex Raptor uses, like, he had Red Eyes, which was a dragon, not even a dino anyway. He uses some other cards that, like, are just kind of random dino stuff, but just got the Jurax support. They could pair that with even more Dino support in the form of just generic Rex Raptor Dino stuff. That would not be the worst, especially if you want to look at my original theme that I threw out at a little earlier in the video. If they go generation by generation, they did 3 DM characters. They could do Yugi with Magnet Warriors, Pegasus with Toons, and Rex Raptor with Dinosaurs. And actually, like, maybe that would actually be one that like sells pretty decently well. A lot of nostalgia bait in there. Dinos might be a little bit hyped competitively, especially if the Rex Raptor cards help out even more. Toons have some crazy cards. Would depend on, they'd have to make them pretty crazy because they're restricted so much by their own, you know, like spirit-esque like weakness. And then Magnet Warriors, I think, are way closer than anybody realizes. Like with a strong 5-card wave, Magnet Warriors could be like a competitive deck, legitimately, but yeah, that's just me. And then go from there. Look at GX. There's got to be some options there, and so on and so forth, and see what we can do. But I don't know. It's entirely possible they just cut it out entirely, but I feel like it's still worth talking about to see where we go from here. So where do you guys land on this? What do you think is most likely? What do you want to happen? Do you want them to just cycle back around for some of these archetypes that got their support, but honestly just is either power crept them out really quickly or was just never enough in the first place that you think they deserve to go back in on it? Stuff like Red Eye, stuff like Roids, you know what I mean? Amazonas, you know, Ojamas, stuff like that. There's so many in here that you look at and you're like, wow, they gave those support? That did nothing. I remember that deck did nothing even when it got support. Maybe they should go back in and help those archetypes at least be rogue level. That should be their goal when they give these archetypes 7 brand new cards. That's too many cards to not like make an archetype at least rogue level when they already have tools of their own. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. I'm curious what you guys are thinking here. I don't know how to feel about it. Honestly, I don't even know if I want them to keep Duelist packs overall, because I'd want to find out like what other side set they would want to put in its place to see. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll keep you updated on all things Yu-Gi-Oh! News going forward, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.